from the beginning to the end, I was thoroughly entertained.
Right. We didn't even take a pee break.
And I had to, bad. Like from 30 minutes in, I had to go. I didn't want to stop it because because the pacing was there. It was just, I didn't want to break that natural, like they had this flow going. They found a rhythm, like leave it to musicians to find a rhythm. But this movie had a rhythm that just...
1, 3, 5, 7. I promise you, if you have the end on there, I'm gonna stab you in your neck on this goddamn sofa today. I'll wait and see.
I've got the end on there.
Right.
That's what I've got. 2 things that I would want to change.
Okay, for me, it would have been just not a lot of things, but I have to be honest. The runtime. I think it could have been a solid 90 minutes versus a solid. I know I'm nitpicking here instead of an hour 45.
Yeah,
I think they could have, shaved some things down here or there.
I'm not exactly. I do agree that maybe maybe even 5 minutes shorter. It did seem the pacing the pacing was great in the beginning. Mm-hmm. It was good in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see anything tightened up in the setup of the movie because even some of the times where they were kicking a dead horse out of a joke, those moments worked, but there was something about the last 30 minutes where they could have probably shaved off 30 seconds here or 50,
mm-hmm.
but it definitely isn't a deal breaker.
Oh, no.
It's still good pacing. That's just Edgar Allan.
No, those are the 2 ravens from the movie. What the fuck? Oh, that shit fucked us up.
The first thing that I would have changed is that I would have had more Jeff Garlin in it, and I understand that it was probably a logistical thing to only have him we got one location here at the corporate building, and then we have him come out to the location one night and get these pickup shots.
The pandemic.
So I understand why he probably wasn't in it that much, and it was also maybe a budget thing, but I would have loved to have seen more of that dynamic, at least maybe halfway through the film, like a phone call or something.
No, definitely. I can agree with that. The other thing that I would have changed, again, like I said, I didn't feel like the film needed any CGI effects. I think they could have got all the way with practical. It was that type of film. You're already going for a horror slasher, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, I know you didn't mind it. I'm just, You
remember what Brandon Quinton Adams and Ving Rhames looked like when they got shocked practically on that door. You want to see that? You wanted to see that?
That was 30, 40 years ago, man.
Practical is practical. 30 years ago or today, we're still working with the same stuff practically.
Okay, I'm not going to say when, but let's just say somebody becomes a symbol against the wall. That was practically done, and that looked awesome.
Yeah, yes, I agree with that.
But then when Kruger went Krug at the beginning, when he got Lord Raiden got a hold of him, I was like, a little cheesy.
Do you think I almost said the black demons, but
you're black. Go ahead. You said that 17 times.
What would you call them? You know what I'm talking about? The red-eyed black demons.
Oh, I would call them
the shadow people.
People under the stairs. No, the ghouls, like ghouls.
I couldn't tell if they were practical or if they were.
Oh no, they were real. Those were real people.
They looked enhanced.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, glowing red eye, but who knows? Maybe they had some red lights or something.
So yeah, like you said, practical, versus CGI.
I just don't know how they would have done the shock scene without some enhancements.
Oh, you did.
I don't think they overused the CGI.
Oh, I don't think it was overused at all. I just think the whole thing could have been done without it.
It definitely would have been a good bragging point to say that, and another callback to old horror movies.
I'm nitpicking here.
I think they did practical where it really mattered.
Yeah, that I agree. And probably had some fun with the other stuff. But yeah, definitely I agree.
And also budget and timing, it probably, we need to get this in the can, and then we can add these things later on. The ending, and it was just a portion of the ending, just one little moment when, I'm going to try to word this in a way that doesn't give anything away. The voiceover, when the people come out and the voiceover plays, "You killed us, you will be cursed." I just didn't need that voiceover. I think it would have been cooler if we just saw what happened. The people come out, they look over the dude, they send him on his way, and you can I mean, I think I would have figured it out on my own who those people were in relation to the person that they were.
Yeah, because they showed them. They showed who they were
yeah, so I didn't need that. The voiceover just kind of like most of the movie was the parts of the movie that were tongue in cheek did it in a way that was self-aware, that was almost like having fun with itself. But it was that one moment was just kind of like it was the one part that didn't really seem to
be needed.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like it was tongue in cheek. It seemed like it almost felt like an executive decision where it's like, we need to get a little ADR in there to make sure that everybody gets what's going on.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you why, because again, the scene was there, and like you said, they probably said add it so again people know what's going on. But I think if you had omitted the scene in the first place, you could have let people make up their own mind. Like, I didn't need her bringing the book all the way from over there. I didn't need her taking his blood and smearing it on the book, and in order to kill him. I would have been happy if, like I say, they just, killed him, or like I said, I didn't even need them to come back.
Yeah,
he had, you know what I'm saying?
Poltergeist that shit and have the whole house cave in and take everything with it.
Right, like it was. I don't know. It was like I said. I don't know. But or they just could have took him with them. Like they were gonna do something bad to him. Like yes. Like, oh, we know what you did to us, and then take him away. But again, we're nitpicking.
Yeah. It really just because when a movie is so great for the whole film, it's hard to have an ending that lives up to everything when you've done everything so well. It's like I'm looking for perfection, and you just don't really get that anywhere.
And speaking of, shout out to practical, one time they did use CGI and practical in a good way was after the handy quack scene is what I'll call it, when he was vomiting. What came from the vomit originally started as CGI, but then they did a good cut of it to the practical. That was done extremely well. That was
some old like John Carpenter who did The Theme would be proud watching that, because he did The Thing, which is like the epitome of body horror, as great as body horror gets. And that was one of those moments when I wrote down the homage to like body horror, the body horror version of the genre.
All right.
But yeah, they're just two little things. So with that being said, here's our review.
Sorry.
Here's our review. All right, so here is our review of Studio 666. First of all, I want to say thank you to Mike Kehoe for putting us in touch with BJ McDonald, who put us in touch with Open Roads Films, who so generously got us a screener to watch the movie early so we can have the ability to even do this. And this will be spoiler free, so you can watch this without any suspense. We're not going to ruin anything for you. It is a campy, great time. That was the first note that I wrote.
Oh my God!
The movie is like, if you're a fan of horror films, or if you enjoy laughing, you will find yourself entertained by this movie. It is over the top, vulgar, insane. The dialogue is just absurd, witty. The best way to put it is just, it is one hell of a crazy good time. If you took the energy of rock music and somehow translated it into comedy horror, it's like rock and roll.
Let me apologize in advance for all the rock we're about to make.
Put it this way, you don't have to be a fan of horror or rock, and you can enjoy this film. That's what I want to say. This is just a good film on its head. So for the Foo Fighters to be in this film, and for them to be artists, but acting may not be their main forte, I think they did a hell of a job, because we talked about who we would have wanted to see what bands see this. I know a lot of bands that could have never pulled this off.
Wow. Yeah, it was their charm and their chemistry that actually made the movie. Like when they like went full on into the horror genre and they had the effects and everything, those were pulled off, like they were pulled off competently, especially for like this is BJ McDonald's second film, and most of the people in it are not like traditional actors. all of these moments were pulled off really well, from the response of the people that the horrific things are happening to. Oh my God! To the way the horrific things are pulled off, either practically or with visual effects. It was all done very well. Like, there was never a moment where I was distracted by an effect being subpar or something like that. But the movie ultimately succeeds because it doesn't lean on those moments. It doesn't lean on like being a horror movie at all. It is like purely the charm and the energy that exists throughout, whether it's a funny moment or a scary moment. There's always this same, like, you're having a really good time.
There's one scene in the film here that I won't say who it is, but I will say this and you'll know what I'm talking about, because it brings what you just said to a great point, to where they didn't lean too much into horror and they didn't forget that they were still being in a comedy. Is the scene where someone tells someone no. The person turns around and says, "What'd you say to me?" He said, "I said no." And then he pauses, and you think that he's gonna go full horror mode on him, but he just goes full rock star, like, "You know who the fuck I am?" I'm like, so that's the monster within him, and I'm like, oh, that was brilliantly done.
I can park wherever I fucking want to.
That had nothing to do with what the fuck they were talking about. I can park where. Do you know who I am? So yeah, so that's why I say they never took it too seriously, but they did take it serious, and I like that.
Yeah, that like technically everything was done.
Oh,
like,
you can even tell, like, when they were moving in sync. I'm like, somebody just told them, guys, on 3Q, you guys go this way. They moved in unison. I'm like, okay, yeah, it was crazy, man.
The lighting and the sound.
Oh yeah,
so like
pristine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're rock, man.
No surprise with the sound, but the lighting was just incredible. It was just done so well. I felt like I can't even, like,
I didn't see any soft shots. I didn't hear anything peaking. I didn't hear anything.
And they had fun with it. Like, they used, they adjusted the lighting. Like, in the basement scene, they changed the whole look of the basement by simply making it a blue lighting hue
versus
the red, rustic, orangey feel
what was that show we talked about? That basement looked like The Strain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's BJ McDonald working on so many music videos, like, because it had that kind of raw energy of a music video where there was no shot wasted. Like, in a lot of movies, like an insert shot, it'll just be, straight on insert shot. But with this, it had that Sam Raimi type of energy to it, or like music videos where there's always motion, there's always movement. The deaths in it were everything in this movie was over the top, which is one of the things that I loved about it. Like, from the punchlines, the tension was always over, the aggression, the fuck yoga.
Hey man, let me get the grill tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah. And then even the deaths were over the top.
Yeah.
And
they were like fatalities.
Yeah, it was like a throwback to the old, like, 80s horror where you just, like, go as big and bloody as possible. And speaking of the aggression being over the top and the deaths being over the top, when an unnamed person gets murdered, half of their body cut from the nose up, and the rest of their body is sliding down the wall. Fucking Dave Grohl just his middle finger follows his
all
body
the way down.
as it slides down. He's already dead. This is purely for you, flicking him off.
Yep.
It was, but there was just that, like, unnecessary, over the top vulgarism. It was just so refreshing, weirdly refreshing.
Yes.
And the pacing, like, I know we said that the pacing in the last 30 minutes could have been adjusted a little bit, but overall, I think that one of the notes that I had was the pacing of the film. For me, it felt so, like, I felt like it was always moving.
Yeah.
There was something always, like, if you weren't laughing, you were like gearing up for some kind of crazy suspenseful moment to happen. It was one of the two, and the energy and the charisma was always there. I can't think of somebody that really brought a scene down between the supporting characters or the main cast or the Foo Fighters. Like, especially just watching the Foo Fighters banter with each other. They're just, I mean, they've been working together, touring together, recording together for decades.
Right.
So they've got that natural chemistry that worked as an advantage.
I thought that's what was beautiful about it as well, as far as not only to me, I told you, when they actually got to be a band, like, that's what I think is beautiful about this film. You're watching a film, but then you get to see certain elements that you would never see. Yeah, you've seen behind the scenes of them rehearsing before, but this is actually them like in an element you not seeing them in, but they're still being a band. You know, when they're rocking out and doing this stuff, they're really fucking playing. You can see that's why some of them, their eyes are closed, their emotions are completely different than the characters they're portraying. But once the music stops, they're back in character again. So it's beautiful, man. Like I said, the drummer's going hard. Like everybody's Pat, man. He's the plant. Pat has to be the plant. I still cheese, man. But
I'll just say from the beginning to the end, I was thoroughly entertained.
Right. We didn't even take a pee break,
and I had to bad. Like from 30 minutes in, I had to go. I didn't want to stop it because the pacing was there. It was just I didn't want to break that natural. Like they had this flow going. They found a rhythm. Like leave it to musicians to find a rhythm. But this movie had a rhythm that just
1, 3, 5, 7.
It kept you entertained from the beginning to the end. And I mean, it was just it is one hell of a good time.
It's killer.
It's a movie. Put it this way: it's a movie that you would always say, "Hey, man, have you seen this?" And you want to show it to somebody. Like
It's definitely a movie to watch with friends, or at least one friend, and get some drugs or some alcohol or
both.
Whatever you prefer. Order a pizza. Like it doesn't take itself seriously, so it gives you permission to just turn your brain off and just fucking be entertained.
Now, this whole project started out as a silly idea that we imagined would be like a low-budget slasher film. And then it turned into a full-length feature film, and then we're here.
Yeah, badass death scenes, hilarious comedic scenes, a little bit of Whitney Cummings top titular area, and some kick-ass music.
That was the pitch to the studio right there.
Those
5 things you said. You got badass over the top death scenes, kick ass music, Whitney Cummings totally tubular thing happening there. Come on, and Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
Like, man, say green light this shit. Go.
Hello.
Go. I know you have this writer's block.
So I give it a 4.5.
Now, and again, I want to make sure people understand this. See, it's what we feel it is to us.
And this is 1 through 5. 5 being the best. 4 for me, it was a 4.5, and I say 4.5 because I gave The French Dispatch a 5. And to me, that is like the perfect film. And while I don't really have any grievances or things that I could think would have made it better or more enjoyable for me. I think a 4.5 is all that for this movie. It is practically a 5 for this genre.
I give it a strong 4. I'm right at 4.
4.5 plus 4 equals 8.5 divided by 2 is 4.25. 4 and a quarter.
666. You got 4.25. That's pretty high in our books.
Yeah, for a horror comedy, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just highly recommend it. If you have not seen it yet, I don't know if it's coming out on streaming yet, but
if you're a fan of Pearl Jam, you have to see it.
And this is a movie that you should really see in theaters because I bet this is great with like a bunch of people.
I'm talking about the sound though. We just watched it.
Yeah, the IMAX. Sound, but then having the audience there to all like embrace that energy together. Yeah.